Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today. I have a question, not only for Trump, but for the audience. Is he with us or not? Let's get into it. Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today on the Community Ledger. Again, my name is Andrea Banu, and if you have not already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And so we have to get into it. So any of you watching who may not already be aware, Trump has set his sights on the Smithsonian. Yes, all of these historical events, he claims, are ideologies that don't align with America. So things like LGBTQ history or Native American Museum, or even the African American Museum. Yes, it seems like he wants to go ahead and utilize his executive order pen to dismantle history. So let's go ahead and take a look and see exactly what he's up to.
New reaction tonight after another bold move by President Trump, this time taking aim at the Smithsonian Institution. He says it's to restore truth and sanity to American history. Critics say he's trying to whitewash it. 7 News' Carl Willis tonight with both sides.
The Smithsonian Institution, the world's largest museum, education, and research complex, and a powerful draw for visitors like Talisha Bhatia.
There's the Indian Museum, the African American Museum, all the Smithsonian's. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's also the latest target of the Trump administration and the focus of an executive order that aims to remove what the administration considers anti-American ideology. Certain narratives on the country's racial history, part of the executive order reads, quote, "Over the past decade, Americans have witnessed a concerted and widespread effort to rewrite our nation's history, replacing objective facts with a distorted narrative driven by ideology rather than truth." The order also seeks to remove recognition of the achievements of trans women in the American Women's History Museum.
I feel like that's overstepping their boundaries of what the government, because it should be open and equal to everybody.
The executive order specifically mentions the Smithsonian American Art Museum, as well as the National Museum for African American History and Culture, for having divisive race-centered ideology. But some say this is an attempt to erase history.
It really hurts your generation, because your history is who you are.
And more controversy over a separate executive order this week.
This is only the latest in a pattern of attacks on our ability to control our own affairs.
The order would create a surge of law enforcement in public areas, maximize immigration enforcement, and help DC's crime lab get its accreditation.
We have a lot of good things happening in our country.
Patrice Sultan with DC Justice Lab says this makes her feel unsafe.
I actually see it as quite dangerous to keep doubling down on policies we know have failed just to score political points with people who don't even live here.
And so there you have it. It appears that he wants to rid the country of what he calls ideology that is divisive. But I'm trying to figure out, what about historical facts is divisive? And so now for a long time, you've had a lot of people on the right who boasted about Trump's contributions to the Black community, specifically with, Black unemployment being its lowest in history when he was during his first term, as well as him spending as much money as he did and putting in legislation to create permanent funding for HBCUs or economic zones that benefited predominantly Black communities. And so with all of these things being done, why is it that he is all of a sudden trying to go in and rewrite history or dismantle this museum? So I wanted to read another article with regards to what may be happening now. Okay, and so I wanted to read a little bit more in depth about what is happening. Now, I did read not too long ago that he was trying to remove a claim or sentiment that strong work ethic and nuclear family values were labeled as white culture. And so he wanted that to be removed. I agree with that, because the nuclear family and hard work is not white culture. However, I really want to dig into what's happening here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this article written by Black Press USA. Trump targets a slavery removal from the National Museum of African American History and Culture. So let's see what they're saying. Now, first, before I get into the article, I will say that I have visited this museum. It is an incredible museum, and it is historically accurate and incredibly profound. Beautiful museum. It is very, very large, and you will be there all day long. Okay. And so now at the basement of this museum is the origins of African Americans here in the United States. So, of course, this is slavery. This is when African Americans first arrived to this continent, based on some historians. But nonetheless, for the sake of African American history, this is pretty much where a large amount of African Americans were captured, abducted from Africa, and brought here to American soil. And so the basement of this museum starts with that history. It talks about the slave trade. It talks about, the economic resources, the impact, et cetera, et cetera. And then as you go up the museum, you go up the evolution of African Americans here in American history. And, of course, you see Jim Crow, Reconstruction, integration, all the way up until Oprah, Obama, et cetera, et cetera. It's beautifully done. It really is. But it sounds like he's wanting to completely remove the basement floor. So he just wants to remove the slavery aspect of this museum, which would be historically inaccurate. Like, we didn't just fall out of the sky. We came here through a particular means. Now, if you are uncomfortable with that means, then maybe you should do something about it. But nonetheless, I'm going to go ahead and read and see exactly what's happening. It says, Black people are not going to stand for this, says Nicole Hannah Jones, the author of the 1619 Project. She is responding to reports that Donald Trump is targeting the slavery section of the National Museum of African American History and Culture. The museum's slavery facts and substantiating artifacts of the 250 years of the enslavement of Africans in America, curated by historians, are the bullseye for the Trump administration. I think that this is a sign of a deep sickness to think that you could go to the National Museum of African American History and Culture and feel the need to erase how Black people got here, emphasized Jones, who added, to erase or minimize the slavery and freedom part of that story is to create a fantasy of how we got here. We literally would not be in the United States without slavery. And absolutely correct. I completely agree with her with that sentiment. And so, as dark and as humiliating and as heavy as that portion of our history is, it is historically accurate. It is not an ideology. And so to completely remove that is just to be like, okay, well, all of a sudden we just came here and became, LeBron James and Oprah Winfrey and Obama, and like we just grew out of the ground. No, that's not how it happened. That's not how it happened at all. And so in order for this to be an accurate representation of African Americans, you have to tell the story in its completion, no matter how uncomfortable that is. And so I'm going to read a little bit more, or in conclusion, the first Black president, Democrat Barack Obama, opened the museum in September of 2016. Meanwhile, the Republican Golden Age president, Donald Trump, is focused on whitewashing historical and proven facts about African Americans, calling it ideologically unacceptable. How is it ideologically unacceptable? Like, if you're going to talk about the Mayflower, if you're going to talk about Christopher Columbus, you have to talk about every aspect of American history. You know what I'm saying? And truth be told, he's not attacking the Holocaust Museum. That don't even have nothing to do with America. So why are you not trying to dismantle that? That should, if you're going to just take away a level of ideology, then why are you not addressing that museum, which actually has nothing to do with America and its upbringing and its soil and its history with regards to the people who live here? So I'm not understanding this. So African Americans are a vital component of American history, period. We are woven in the thread of the economics. We are woven in the thread of culture, food, music, everything. From beginning to end, everything. I mean, every ounce of American history, we are embedded in it. period. Okay. And so to completely want to just remove that section of the museum feels ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And that is going to be a hard sell. I mean, like I said, the Smithsonian, this particular museum in particular, is incredibly well done. And so I just don't see how he's going to come in with a bulldozer and completely remove that. I personally don't see this happening. I do have my speculations on why certain things like this are being presented, but not actually followed through on. But I'm going to keep those opinions to myself. However, I do want to pose the question to you, with seeing everything that Trump did in his first term that actually appeared to benefit Black people with regards to economics, education, and justice reform. Why now? What is happening now in this term? What is he doing in this second term with regards to African Americans? We are seeing a lot of conversations about exonerating or pardoning Derek Chauvin. We're seeing conversations about wiping out the African or history of slavery within the African American Museum. Why are these things being done? Is this a play in some way? Is this trying to incite some level of emotion or excitement or frustration within the Black community so we can get out in the streets and rebel again or rebel again? Or is there something a little bit deeper going on here? I would love, 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 love to hear your opinions about what you think about Trump removing or having the conversation about removing, the aspect of slavery from American history, specifically with the Smithsonian. So again, get into that comment section and tell me exactly how you feel about what you think this is about and why you think this conversation is even being presented to the public. I would love to continue the conversation in the comment section. So if you have not already, please do like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, this is the Community Ledger. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe and watch the next video by clicking right here.